I'm coming live here from Parker, Colorado at my parents' house. I got the laptop here. If you hear Roscoe and Cooper, they might be barking around as well. But I hope that you've had a fantastic holidays so far. And I want to just join or jump in here and do some art reviews. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll share my screen real fast. And we'll get started here with a project from Becca. And before I show you this project, I also want to say congrats, Becca, for finishing this project in the first place because she was watching Pyro 3 and actually went through all 16 hours of that course, which was incredible. It's the longest course I've ever made, and it takes a lot of work just to watch it. This is the results of going through that, plus some side project or some side tutorials she watched as well, or she or he, whatever. But yeah, let's go ahead and check it out here. So go ahead and press play. And all right, so we got a cool fireball going through. Impact is sweet. And we have this little fire tornado happening. Let's watch it one more time. So nice, cool tundra looking environment. Love the purple, by the way. It's super cool. Impact is really cool. I love the vertical laser beam. That was a nice thing. And one of the first impressions I have, I'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit here. One of the first impressions is just how cool this impact is. So let me actually make sure you guys can see this real quick. So yeah, okay. So you guys can see this. Good. Yeah, so check out this impact real quick and just look at how many layers are happening here. This is something I talk about with Pyro 3. Notice how even just within the first like half second here, we have a laser beam, we have the site of impact, we have smoke that's going away from that ground impact. And all of those little things that you add in there make a huge difference. I also love how the laser beam started off as like a solid laser and then wisped away with some particles. That was really cool. Now we have this like magical core happening. So we smoke, and then now we have this red laser beam coming down. It hits, and we have a giant plume of flame right there. And then to top it all off, we have this amazing like fire tornado happening, plus some debris down here, and it all goes up like that. So all that layering is really, really awesome. And that I would say is one of the biggest things that separates pro work from amateur work. It's just having all those little extra bits in there. Even if it's only a half second where you have 5 layers, it makes such a huge difference and it makes it really entertaining to watch. So that's why you add in those layers. And anyway, that's what's working really, really well here. Now, as far as areas to improve, let's see here. We have this beginning part. I love how we have the suspenseful music. I love how we have this kind of dramatic fly through. I do think that the cameras are feeling a bit jittery though. So we start off with a little pan, right? And then it quickly switches over to the bullet here, or the magical flame, right? That's cool, but I think it's a little bit jarring. And then we can tell that we're following this crazy looking gimbal. And so instead of having one shot here, I think it would be a lot more action packed and a lot less jarring if you switch to multiple cameras. And what I would do in that situation is I would take a look at reference and I would see how they handle this in other movies. Like, is there a missile firing sequence that you could take a look at and analyze the different camera shots happening? Because if you could take a look at the different cameras that get used, then you might be able to mimic that yourself. And that would be a really good way of figuring out those cameras. Now, as far as the environment goes, I think that it looks like you took some mega scans, which is great, and you set dressed them a bit, which is nice. The one thing I'd say though is that you might want to take a look at some reference here as well and try to see what a natural tundra landscape might do, and then place your Megascan assets according to reference. We do see that there are some repeating models here. You can see this little swirl right here happening there, and maybe somewhere else as well. But you want to definitely prevent that repetition. So even if it's just rotating that hill back there a little bit, that would make a big difference. Also on the environment, it's good to have a little bit of fog as you go away from the camera. That really sells it as some hills that are far away. And it looks like you might have a little bit of that. I can't tell. But if you do have that, I would bring that out more just to really sell the scale of that scene. So that's what I would say there for the environments. But anyway, we have this going here. And again, bullet impacts. That's really cool. And let's see, what can I pick on here with the impact? You know what might be cool is you have one layer of smoke that's coming out here. It might be cool to also have some like snowy spikes coming out, right? That would be really cool, especially like if you had some snow spikes coming out and they were kind of dropping snow as it hits. I imagine like if a bullet did hit right there, it'd probably like explode. There'd be a little bit of snow, maybe even like magical purple snow or something. And then it kind of settles. So that would be really cool to see that. And then let's see here. I'd also say as well on the camera angle, I would add a little bit of depth of field. We want to keep the focus around here. Even if it's just a slight bit of depth of field, I would try to push that a bit more. It looks like we have perfect focus back here, and I think that's breaking the realism a little bit. So there's that. And then as far as the actual shading goes, I would also say that we might need a little bit more of a balance between the fireball and the smoke, or I guess a little bit less of the subsurface scattering. And maybe one thing you can do is you can take that smoke plume, rotate it, and have another version of it that is just smoke, no flame, so that you get some of the smoke layering in front here. That might be a cool thing to do as well. It is snow, so I imagine it might be a bit more subsurfacey or translucent right here. So that is, I guess, what you might see. But as far as the shading goes here, I think we're way too opaque at this point with our smoke. So I would make that more transparent, especially along the edges. We don't have this like crisp silhouette happening. And then with the fire tornado, it looks a little bit low res. And I don't know if it is or not, but I would try adding a bit more detail to that, even if it's just, increasing the sim settings or trying to add more bands of flame to that tornado. All in all, though, I think this is really cool. And, what a great project. I know there's a ton of work that goes into something like this. So again, great job, Becca. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, this was really, really awesome. Okay, so here is that. Another thing I want to tell you guys about is I saw that Robert from Side Effects recently posted or released this Houdini Foundations book. So if you haven't heard this before, Robert is a fantastic artist from Side Effects. He really specializes in creating this awesome beginner content, this foundations content. I think it's like a 225-page book full of all kinds of great things to get you started in Houdini. I just ordered it myself. I haven't read it yet, but it's bound to be really awesome. So if you guys are new to Houdini, then I totally recommend checking that out. Okay, next up we have Gabriel Alleluia, or Alleluia. This is beach effects right here. So let's switch it up and talk about some water. Okay, nice serene ocean. That's awesome. Love the beach. Love the. I mean, this could be again mega scans. I'm not sure, but it works really well here. This beach realism is a big deal. Okay, we have a sweet breakdown, some foam. Nice. Yeah, I love the size as well. It's good to let people know that you're thinking about scale, thinking about the size of things. We have some different passes here, and there you have it. Okay, great. So, like I said before, I really love the shading here on this little ocean chunk, right? This little shore. I think that's really cool. One thing that would take this to the next level is if you could expand that, making it a bit wider, perhaps. Um, that obviously would take your simulation time way up. So, it's not a huge deal if that isn't possible. But if you could fill the whole screen, I think that'd be cool. Another thing that you could look at doing is adjusting some of the shading on this. I think that the water is really nice, or the overall simulation is nice. It's very silky kind of movement with this, but it does feel like both the foam and the water are a bit too opaque. In other words, I think they need to be more transparent and blend in with the environment. You have all this nice shading here with the beach, and we could just see that the foam is just really white and milky, even when it's really thin on that beach. And foam can do that. It's not like you never see that in nature, but it definitely is not fitting with this like calm, serene kind of thing here, in my opinion. So if you can add more transparency, you'll get that blend from all the nice shading here on your landmass and that foam, and that makes a huge difference on the realism. Same goes for the water. A big part of creating realistic ocean water is making sure that the things under the water are visible. So that would mean turning down the fogginess in here. It can be a foggy ocean sometimes, that does happen. But if you want more complexity, again, you want to have a blend happening between that terrain and the ocean. And that just makes it feel like everything kind of belongs together, like it blends together. And so I think that'd be really nice, especially here along the rocks. Like if you had it kind of transparent and showing these rocks as it went over it a little bit, I think that would also help the realism. And especially as the splashes kind of roll away, it would really help those splashes show up. So that's really my biggest critique here. Is yeah, as far as the movement goes, I think it's nice. It looks like something that you'd pull from the shelf. So nothing wrong with that inherently, but I would just say, yeah, maybe if I was to pick a bone here, it does go from just straight up ocean to these rolling waves right away. So maybe you would want to blend that a little bit better right there. But all in all, I would probably take down that ocean intensity, just kind of go with a more peaceful, chill vibe. Again, make it more transparent on the shading, and that would be an awesome thing to do here. All in all, though, great project and great job here, Gabrielle. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out some comments real quick. This here is from Bosner, and he was wondering about, is this part of some course? No, it's not part of some course. I just like going live sometimes to check out some artwork, hang out with guys. Yeah, it's just something fun I like doing every now and then to, say hello and check out some art with you. Also, if you ever want to have your work featured here, you can always email me, tyler@cgforge.com. I always love checking out what you guys are up to. And especially if you go through a CG course and you're really proud of your render and you want to figure out how to make it better, then I do this once a month to help give you guys feedback and explore ways for improvement. So, yeah, good question. Thanks for asking there, Bassner. All right. Well, let's move on here now to the next project. Let's see here. Oh man. So did my audio go out there, you guys? I think it might have went out. Ah, shoot. Well, yeah, I think it might have went out because I turned off my little camera right here. So I'm sorry about that. There we go. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that whole long-winded critique unfortunately was on mute. Sorry about that there, guys. Normally I have two screens so I can kind of see if something's going wrong, but I'm just kind of going off the laptop here today because I'm not at the studio. Anyway, to make a long story short, let me go ahead and switch back to the um, project I was just critiquing. I'll give you the bullet points, just real quick things that I said. I said, great scene, could use some camera work, add more layers for back here, have the particle fluid clinging to the cop car, get rid of the particles right here because it's a little bit distracting, and then make the impact particles less fuzzy. So there you go. That's the that's what I was just talking about right there. Um, anyway, so there's that. Uh, let's go ahead and switch over to a couple more here. This is a Christmas tree by Yug, and let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, so we have some ice stuff. We have some, cool particle. I love the environment, love the spotlight. It's very nice. I would say, it's sometimes hard to critique these kind of things. I do think it's a little bit weird that I guess this might be like a DNA kind of strand looking thing, like an icy DNA. This might be like for a biomedical visualization thing or something. I don't know. But this is definitely kind of a weird looking platform. I'm not sure what's happening there. If this is like biomedical animation, then maybe that makes more sense. But yeah, cool Christmas tree, cool concept. I think it would be nice to just add a little bit more detail than the simple shading that we have here. Even just a little bit of spec breakup makes a nice difference. Again, the atmosphere is cool behind this tree, but you could add a little bit of layers to that. Maybe some noise, some like slightly animated noise happening in the volumetrics behind the spotlight. That always looks really cool. And yeah, anyway, it's a cool project. It's a fun little Christmas thing. So I think, yeah, that's really cool, Yug. So thanks for sharing. Okay. So here's this question again. How do we submit work? Again, just email me at tyler@cgforge.com. Okay, last but not least, we have this here from Ben Watts. He was experimenting with a beer pour. This can be a very difficult simulation to pull off. And we have this happening here. So let me go ahead and set this to full screen. Watch it again. And first thing I would say is that I think the background needs a little bit more detail. When you have a floating object and it's abstract, it's easy to think about the 30% of pixels right here and forget about the other 66% of pixels that's behind the glass. Especially because this is refractive, having detail behind that glass is going to make a significant difference on the perceived quality here of that render. So that's always something sneaky that people forget about. As far as the shading goes, I do think that the foam is a little bit too opaque. I would prefer to see that more transparent and blend in with the beer a bit more. I love the bubbles that are coming up here, though, and I love the progression of those bubbles. One thing I will say is that as beer is being poured, you do want to have some bubbles in here as well. That makes a big difference in adding additional details in this dark area. And we do have all, it's like you can see it right here, right? Look at all that extra detail as the bubbles are pouring. You want that present in all parts of the fluid at all times here. So the particles disappear and we're left with this beer. But again, having just even a little bit of bubble action happening in these areas towards the end of that sim would also make a difference. I also think that the simulation ends too quickly. I would like to see that foam drop a little bit more and maybe even kind of come off the glass. So just an extra second or two of the simulation would have felt a little bit more natural. Love the condensation here on the glass. I think that's awesome. Love the fact that the droplets are also kind of sliding down that glass. So I think that's working really, really well. And what else here? Yeah, love the big bubbles in the foam. That makes a very big difference as well. And yeah, this is overall pretty awesome. Again, with this kind of thing, you really have to look at reference. Take a look at what's happening in an actual beer commercial. Try to just match everything as closely as possible. That's the name of the game here with something like this. So, yeah, there's just a few little tweaks here and there that I think could improve this a fair bit. Overall, though, just the fact that you pulled off this simulation is really great and really impressive because this is not an easy thing to do. So, great job there, Ben, and thank you for sharing. And yeah, one other thing too is having interaction between the foam and the water flow. Um, I was going to mention that as well because you want to again make it feel like these two things belong together. And actually, another thing too, this is true of all simulations. If you have different layers of things, you need to make sure that the two layers or the three or the four layers all feel like they're blending together, that they're all in the same room, if you will. That's something that adds so much realism, is that interaction between different elements that you're simulating. And so that can happen on the shading, that can happen on the behavior as things translate or transform from one state to another. But definitely something in all of our projects we need to look out for is that interaction and making sure things blend together nicely. That's true for everything we saw today. And it's just something that you never want to forget as you're doing things in Houdini. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining me today on this live stream. Yeah, it was fun. I always have a good time checking out this artwork with you guys. And yeah, let me know what you're up to as well. I always want to, keep in contact with y'all and figure out what projects you're up to and find ways to help you out if I can. So until next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic New Year's. Coming up next in January, thinking about making a hair course, believe it or not. So getting into a bit more CFX. I don't know, still figuring it out, but sounds like that could be a fun idea. All right, guys. Well, take care, and I hope you have a great day.